Howdy. A little more detail on my double slider. I had taken it apart today to do a couple changes to it. First change I did was I noticed some slipping on this gear. So I drilled through the shaft here and threaded it so that it won't slip anymore. I had done the same with the end, and on that one I had drilled it big enough where an M3 fit right through, and I do get a tiny bit of wobble. I know I could just flip it around and put it on the other side. It's not too bad, especially seeing this tends to go in one direction, doesn't go back and forth, so that the backlash isn't a big deal. So like I said, I made that one change to thread the rod, and let me get the length on this rod while I have this apart here. Calipers out once I find them. Okay, so this comes out to be for my setup 36, just a hair over 36 millimeters. I have two of these, one for each end. The one on the motorized end has the herringbone gear. This one is a tiny bit shorter. I made it so I could put a herringbone gear on either side, but I'm not planning on doing that. So I could technically cut this one shorter. This one I made probably about 34, it looks like. 35. So to give you an idea of the length. This is 5/16 cold rolled steel from Home Depot because they don't have 8mm. Everything else is basically 8mm. So I said I made that change there. Next change I did was I was using this printed part for a leveler, and it works great for just the camera. There's a lot of flex in it, but once I put the weight of my pan and tilt head on here, there was some flex, and I wanted to get rid of that. So let me show you what I got. I got this leveling head from a place in India called Pro Aim, and it's kind of a copy of the one Dynamic Perception sells. And with it, should be able to have very stiff motion. Yeah, it's fairly well built. It says milled on their site. It doesn't look milled to me. It looks more cast. There's a number of mounting holes on the top. Comes with the 1/4 20 bolts for the center here, and a bubble level on the top. And what I did to mount this was clamp this to the plate here, and then ran a 1/4 20 tap through, and found two holes in the bottom that pretty much line up. They're a hair off, but it works. Would have been nice if I could have had it centered on the plate, but I can't. The holes don't line up right. So I made that change, and since then I also changed out the bottom plate, the belt tensioner, with a new printed part. I put that on Thingiverse so that it can go below and between the wheels, which lines it better with the pulley. Before, it was way up top here, above, and that caused some binding, really, some tension that I didn't want. So I got rid of it. But I have this apart. You can see the bottom plate. I'm using 8 wheels in the bottom. If you only wanted to use 4, they make a smaller plate. Or you could use the wide plate and put the 4 wheels on the end. I just wanted 8 to make sure everything stayed nice and tight. I've threaded all these holes around this perimeter here with 1/4 20 so that I can mount a plate on the bottom. And I used 2 1/4 20 bolts to hold it in place so that there's no play on the bottom here. So let me put this back together. And like I said, here's the C channel, the C beam, and it comes threaded on the ends already. You don't have to tap those. And here's the side that doesn't have the motor on it already. So I'm going to put these on. Okay. And now I'm going to take and slide the bottom carriage on. It's easier to do this without the pulleys on the end because it's fairly tight. Make sure my belts are aligned correctly. They are. And just slide this in. And there shouldn't be any play on this bottom plate. If there is, you need to adjust the wheels. With 8 wheels, it's fun. And now I have both of them on here. I will put the end plate on. So put this off to the side. My workbench is always a mess. And just slide it underneath. I already have the screws in place. I just got to tighten them on. And that's the wrong size. I think it's this one. Yeah. And tighten these down. And I went with longer screws on the ends, figuring they'd be more secure. I'll tighten these down. And there isn't really a top or bottom to this, but by using the leveling plate, you're kind of picking a top or a bottom because it would make no sense to have it tilting the wrong direction. And I figure the motor should go on the bottom, keeps the wires shorter and not dangling in the air as much. And I'm gonna play around. I have a new stepper coming in that's a geared stepper. It's 50 to 1. Right now I'm using a printed gearbox that gives me a 5 to 1. Hoping that I can get vertical shots with this, with that 50 to 1. There should be an enormous amount of torque. When it's here, what I'll do is test the controller I'm using supports micro stepping, and I'm going to test with, right now it's set at 1/16. There are 16 steps per, micro steps per step, and I know I get more torque if I turn it down, so if I still have a problem, I'll try bringing it down to 1/8, a quarter. Between the gearbox and the gear reduction from the herringbone gear, yeah, I should be able to do vertical lifts then, which makes it a step ahead of the commercial equivalent double slider, which really doesn't support inclined use at all. Well, they have some other features that I wish I had, but yeah. So I'm going to leave that in just a little bit. Nope, I'm actually engaged. Just wanted it to stay on the slot. And to drill this hole out, I just left this gear in place and drilled through it. Removed one of the nuts from one side and left one of the nuts in the other, and that worked. Okay. slide and move this thing back. Actually, here we go. That works. I'll slide the shaft in, like so, and put the gear on over the belt, and then slide everything back in place. And I'm should have looked for where the where that hole was. So I'm gonna pull it back out a little bit so I can find the. There it is. I'm gonna slide it about right to there and attempt to tighten it down. And hopefully I can get it lined up. Okay, let's tighten this down. And I should have no more slipping. And I really should reprint the gear and get rid of the nut pocket. But I don't think I have to. So that fits over like that. Or I turn it around and slide the back gear on. And these shafts are just held in place from the belt tension. So there's nothing actually holding them on. I was thinking I was going to have to, but so far I haven't seen them wobble out, so until I see a need to, I won't. So I loosened the belts up a little bit on the adjusters, so hopefully I can get them in and on. Okay, it's in place. Let's get it in the other bearing. There we go. And it looks like I came off the pulley back here when I was messing around, so let me fix that. Oh, I gotta tighten the screws down over here. Can't turn the belt. These screws do impact the housing over here if they're not tightened. So these are all printed on my Folgertech printer. All the printed parts, and is printed in PET G, because I was worried about leaving it in my car and the temperature in the car causing PLA to melt or no, soften. When I'm done assembling it, I'll show you a couple more features here. Get that last belt on. Now I just slide it on, rotate the gear, and now it's on. I'll move it back a couple times so the belt centers. And it looks good. So I printed these parts, pockets on the end of each one of these plates for 1/4 nuts. I have some over here. They're square. They fit inside each one of these little pockets at the bottom. There's 4 pockets, one in each corner, so that I can make some legs for this sooner or later. So if I wanted to use it like a little mini slider, I could. So far I haven't gone around to designing those parts yet. So that's one of my to-dos. And the way this works is if I mount this, I'm just holding it here, but you can see how the bottom plate is moving in relationship to the the rail. It allows basically a meter of motion. And you lose a little bit, as you can see here in the front, due to the fact that this bottom plate is bigger, longer than the top. The top plate is shorter, but I wanted the additional stability that this 8 bearing plate gave me. So it was a trade-off. So instead of having a full meter of travel, I get, you know, probably 900 millimeters of travel. One of the addition, you know, you can use it like a standalone slider. Put a tripod on it, or a tripod head on it, or just mount your camera directly to the plate. Or I can hook up the motor. And where did I put my motor? There it is. And the motor just snaps into place. That's why I put these half moons on each side here on the design. And try not to drop everything. The motor just snaps in. And then to retain it, because as it's lifting, or especially as it's going this direction, it would pop the plate off. I have a couple printed brackets that snap onto the bottom, and then they screw in through these holes in the top of this motor plate. I have a full-length one for this side, and they're tight. I need to file them down a bit. I made the design tight because I wanted to eliminate any flexing. So they're rather tight. Probably too tight. But there it goes. Yeah, a little too tight right now, but I can smack it. I just don't feel like smacking it right now. On the other side, it's just a little mini plate that slides underneath and fits like that. And put 2 M5 nuts or bolts in here, and that will keep the motor on. But when the motor's on, you can't slide it. Yeah, it's a gear reduction motor now because I built that gear reduction unit, and you wouldn't be able to use it manually. So that's about really it. I think this is basically a complete project at this point. It works well. I have a fray to the belt. I might have to swap this belt out. And right now the belt's hasn't been tensioned. So like I said, that's about it. I just wanted to show how it all went together. And I have on Thingiverse all the parts needed. And you know, you don't need to buy this. This was $75, but it's cheaper than if you go to Dynamic Perceptions. Theirs is $150, so $75 is a steal. And they got it here in 4 days from India, which was great. You could track the package from the place in India to New Delhi to Dubai to New York to my home. It was amazing that it got here that quickly. You know, it takes more than 4 days sometimes for things shipped in the States. Yeah, I might make a longer version. I don't know how well it would work if I made a meter long version, which would give me 2 meters, because as you're using it, you're cantilevering off quite a lot of weight. Yeah, you're cantilevering off a lot of weight, and I would be worried that 2 meters would be too much. I mean, it's hard for me to hold from one end with all the weight over here, and that doesn't have a motor on the end right now. So, yeah, I don't know if making it any longer would make any sense. You might as well make a traditional slider, in my mind, at that point. That you know, it's mounted on both ends to keep the weight better. But for a portable slider, this is awesome. Yeah, I mean, you get a 1/2 meter. I mean, you can put this in a backpack. Let's fold this thing down. and now that's, you know, ready to go whenever I get to where I want to take a time-lapse video. You know, hook the motor on the back, leave it hooked up if I'm planning on doing a motorized type thing, or if I'm just looking to use it for video, it's all set to go. Put the camera on top and I'm good to go. So I figured I'd share it. There's probably other people who have been looking for smaller, portable backpack type things. And I want to say maybe, if you're, I guess if you're going out backpacking for time lapses, is better than other options. It's still fairly heavy though. By the time you're done editing this, your camera, your tripod, all your stuff, it's fairly heavy. But I mean, it gives you a decent setup for that's very small and portable. I can leave this in my truck and it doesn't take up a lot of space. So I'll do some more demo videos coming up when I have some time, and you know, see what works and what doesn't. Right now I think it's a pretty decent project though. So until next time, thanks for watching.